Unleashing the one mindset, the brutal truth you need to hear now. In the dim light of a crumbling warehouse, shadows danced like restless spirits. A tension crackled in the air, thick with secrets that begged to be unraveled. This was no ordinary place, whispers of whispered rumors echoed off the rusty metal walls. Tonight, something was brewing. Something big. You could feel it in the pit of your stomach. For the chosen few, this was a moment of pure reckoning, a test of wills that could change lives forever. As the clock struck midnight, an enigmatic figure stepped from the shadows. Dressed in a tailored suit that clung to his frame like armor, every inch of him radiated power. But it wasn't just his looks that captured attention, it was his eyes. They gleamed like shards of ice, piercing through the darkness with a promise of untold mysteries. Who was he? What did he want? The crowd, a mix of hopefuls and skeptics, held their breath, eyes wide with anticipation. "Welcome," he said, his voice like velvet wrapped around iron. "You stand at the threshold of the one mindset. For those who dare to join me, glory awaits. But it comes at a price." The words hung in the air, heavy and intoxicating. A shiver raced down spines. What price? What choice? It felt as if the walls themselves leaned in, desperation and intrigue melding with every heartbeat. Around the room, you could see faces reflecting fleeting emotions, fear, greed, excitement. A woman in the front clenched her fist, a lump forming in her throat. Anguish danced in her watery eyes. She was already caught in a web, and the allure was undeniable. And the murmurs began. Did you hear about the last group? They never came back. The stakes had never felt so high, the risk so palpable. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Once the crowd settled, the man moved closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Success is not solely for the hardworking. No, it's for the strategic, for the chosen. You have to be willing to dig deep to know when to fight and when to retreat. Each word was sharp, striking like a drumbeat that resonated within. And just as he leaned in, the lights flickered ominously. Safety and danger twined together in that moment, growing heavier as tension mounted. At that instant, someone gasped from the back of the room. A figure staggered through the crowd, face pale as death. "You don't know what you're getting into," he screamed, eyes wild. Silence fell like a shroud. No one dared breathe. The potential of disaster loomed larger than ever, and an unsettling urge to flee danced at the edges of minds. The rich aroma of ambition now mixed with a metallic taste of impending doom. As his voice trailed off into an eerie stillness, the man in the suit watched with a knowing smile, the kind that sent shivers down spines. The stakes had risen, yet the thrill of the unknown drew sharp breaths. What would happen next? Would you walk through the door of truth or turn back to the safety of ignorance? In that moment, the darkness, electrified with unseen possibilities, seemed ready to reveal its hand. The air was electric, mysteries tangled like vines in a dense forest. What lay beyond the threshold? Only a heart that dared beat with courage could find out. The figure at the forefront of the room was now calm, eyes scanning the crowd with the ice-cold precision of a hawk. The energy was thick, no one shifted, not even a whisper broke the tense air. Each person was a captive, ensnared not just by fear but by a potent mix of desperation and desire. "Let me show you," he continued, his voice smooth yet commanding. With a flourish, he gestured towards a nearby wall where a projection screen began to descend, revealing a vivid, hypnotic array of images. Glimmering mansions blurred into luxury cars, each flicker capturing the fantasy of wealth, an unattainable dream for many. For a heart-stopping moment, the crowd gasped. It was as if the horizon of their hopes had been laid bare, shimmering with promises. "This could be yours," he said, his voice dripping with allure. "But know this, nothing worth having comes without sacrifices. Tonight will test you like nothing ever has." Someone, a burly man with sweat beading on his forehead, finally broke the spell. "What kind of sacrifices?" he barked, his voice hard and questioning, a tremor veiling his bravado. The man in the suit turned, a wicked glint dancing in his icy gaze. "Everything and nothing," he replied cryptically, each word laced with a tantalizing hint of danger. "It's a paradox. You will lose what you hold dear to gain what you never knew you wanted. The choice is yours." With that loaded statement hanging in the air, tension thickened like fog, it suffocated. The glazed eyes of the crowd reflected a mix of greed and fear. Who among them was willing to risk everything? Heartbeats quickened, and breaths became shallow. Just then, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness. For a split second it felt like a warning. Murphy, a woman in her 20s, squeezed her eyes shut, murmuring a silent prayer. But another voice interjected, furious and vehement. "You're playing with fire, you have no idea what this man is capable of." It was the wild-eyed man again, but his warnings were drowned in the chorus of buzzing excitement from others. "He is dangerous." The crowd erupted in chaos. Shouts mixed with gasps, faces turning towards each other, uncertainty splitting the room. What sort of game had they stepped into? "Enough," the man in the suit commanded, his tone slicing through the noise like a knife. When silence fell again, he smiled. "You fear him, yet you feel the compulsion to join me. It's within that fear that your true character will be tested." Fear. Yes, that weighed heavy, but it was more than that. It was a bittersweet longing mixed with dread, like standing on the edge of a cliff. There was a strange, exhilarating thrill in confronting the unknown. So many were teetering, ready to leap off, but into what? The man took a step back, offering the audience a moment to breathe. "Shall we delve deeper? Or will you turn away and live your mundane existence?" His gaze flicked to the wild-eyed man, whose panic now mirrored the crowd's inner turmoil. Just then, from the corner of the room, a sharp crash broke through the sound of glass shattering. Some screamed, others turned wide-eyed. The confused audience swiveled to look just as a figure burst through the broken window, a silhouette, wild and desperate, silhouetted against the night sky. The man's enigmatic smile faded. "Is that your answer? Is the truth truly worth that kind of madness?" Those words hung heavy, and the room churned with energy, filled with uncertainty and an impending sense of revelation. As everyone's gaze turned to the intruder, a dread certainty seeped into the air. What had just appeared at their doorstep? What was the truth hiding behind the shattered glass? The figure sprawled on the floor, fragments of glass glinting around him like dying stars. With a tangle of dark hair partially obscuring his face, he gasped for breath, as if the air itself had betrayed him. A ripple of shock swept through the crowd, their collective breath caught like a baited hook. Who was he? What madness had brought him crashing through that window? The man in the suit strode forward, a predator sensing an opportunity. "Interesting choice," he said coolly, eyes narrowing as he took the scene in. "Now you see the price of hesitation." As the newcomer struggled to rise, the lights flickered back on, bathing the room in a sickly yellow hue. Panic twisted the faces of onlookers, some looked eager, others horrified. "What do you want?" someone shouted, their voice quivering with fear. The intruder lifted his chin, revealing a wild, haunted gaze. "I know everything you think you want. This isn't about wealth, this is about your lives." His voice trembled with urgency, slashing through the tension like a knife. "You're being led into darkness." Another round of gasps erupted, this time laced with uncertainty. The room began to shift. Some eyes darted to the man in the suit, while others were glued to the frantic stranger. The weight of his words hung heavily between them. "Yes, tell them," the man in the suit encouraged, with a sly smile that twisted his features. "Let us make this a conversation, shall we?" Oh, the irony of truth and deception intertwined like lovers in the dark. Speak on. The intruder, his breaths ragged, clutched his side, blood seeping through his fingers. This is a trap. You have no idea what you're signing up for. It's worse than you think. Worse than what? The burly man from earlier stepped forward, his brows furrowed with skepticism. You jump through windows we don't even know if you're real or just a figment of our twisted imaginations. Before the intruder could respond, the man in the suit intervened smoothly. Let us say, for the sake of argument, you're right. What if he is a warning? Are you prepared to hear it? His voice dripped with mock sincerity. Or would you rather drown in your fantasies? Murphy felt a chill race down her spine. She could almost hear the echoes of her own unspoken thoughts. What was on the other side of this seductive proposal? Was it a better life, or something monstrous? Don't listen to him. The intruder pleaded, his voice rising in desperation. They're taking everything from you. Your freedom, your will. It's a mind game. That struck a nerve. The audience stirred, uncertainty morphing into palpable fear. The air thrummed with energy, each heartbeat drumming a distinct rhythm of doubt and desire. The truth was chaotic, unfiltered, and infectious. So, what is the truth? One woman asked, her voice trembling but somehow emboldened by the chaos. What are they hiding? The intruder hesitated, his eyes darting, then he took a deep breath. It's not money or power. It's suddenly, the man in the suit lunged, grabbing the intruder by the collar and throwing him back onto the floor. You think you could just come in here and disrupt my business? How naive. The crowd gasped in unison as the intruder grimaced in pain, fighting to regain focus. But everyone knew this was a turning point. The rising tension could either spiral into chaos or transform into something far more sinister, and as the man in the suit glowered over the fallen figure, the room held its breath, teetering on the brink. The promise of wealth or the abyss of truth, what would they choose now? What lay ahead was murky, yet one thing danced on the edge of their minds: if they remained, could they ever escape the price of their desires? With a confident grin, the man in the suit turned to the crowd. The moment of decision is upon you. The real game has just begun. And in the distance, the crowd felt the heavy call of a storm brewing. The room hung in silence, suffocating and electric. All eyes flickered between the intruder, now on the floor, and the man in the suit, who reveled in the chaos he had conjured. Think about what I said. The intruder gasped, trying to push himself up, his voice thick with pain. You think you have everything under control, but you're just pawns in a larger game, a game rigged against you. They've turned your desires into your prisons. But we're not pawns, the burly man retorted, crossing his arms defiantly. We make our own choices. Do you? Came the urgent reply, rife with desperation. Do any of you really know what you've chosen? There are strings attached. Each desire comes with a cost. The wealth you covet, it'll consume you. You'll never be free again. Whispers erupted in the crowd, a maelstrom of disbelief and paranoia. Some shifted uncomfortably, while others raged against their apprehensions. Murphy felt her heart race. The allure of riches felt brighter than ever, but there was a nagging doubt that this man might be right. Enough. The man in the suit stepped forward, eyes dark and predatory. This charade ends here. You're all smart enough to see that he's just a desperate fool trying to sow discord. Desperate? The intruder laughed, a hollow sound that betrayed both bravery and utter despair. You really don't get it. I'm risking everything to show you the truth. The facade of prosperity is crumbling. They're after more than just your money. It's your essence, your very souls they crave. What nonsense is this? A woman shouted from the back. Life is made of choices. It's our right to pursue what? He interrupted, choking on his words. A life of servitude hidden behind glitz and glamour. You're feeding the beast, and soon it will bite back. A flicker of tension washed over the crowd, sending ripples through their resolve. Eyes turned nervously, seeking affirmation from one another. The man in the suit glared, his composure wavering as he sensed the tide. "Shut him up," he hissed, as if issuing an order. In an instant, two men surged toward the intruder, grabbing him by the arms. Their grip was vice-like. He struggled, but they wrestled him down, pinning him against the cold floor with a sickening thud. The crowd flinched as some shouted, "Let him speak," while others urged suffocating silence. "Let me go." The intruder spat, gasping for breath once more. "Your ignorance is a luxury you can't afford. If you don't wake up and listen, you'll lose everything: your heart, your hope, your very identity." The man in the suit's face twisted, a mask of fury splattered over irritation. He approached the downed figure, looming like a shadow. "You think you're some kind of prophet? You're a parasite. Time to cleanse this establishment of your disease." At once, he nodded sharply. A signal. The crowd held its breath, anticipation mingling with dread. Murphy's own heart pounded in her chest. Could the intruder be telling the truth? Did they really have the power to change the outcome of their lives? In that tense moment, she saw in the crowd someone whose eyes reflected her own. Was that understanding, or fear? A whispered exchange buzzed like an electric current around them. That's when the lights flickered ominously again, plunging the room into darkness. Panic surged like a tidal wave as startled gasps filled the air. Murphy's heart raced, blood thundering in her ears. "Get ready." The man in the suit's voice cracked through the silence, but it was too late. A shriek split the air, a collision followed by a heavy thud that echoed off the walls. In the confusion, an unexpected voice cried from the darkness, "The truth is buried, but I'll bring it to light." Who had spoken? What truly lingered in the depths of the shadows? In the fray, every heartbeat echoed with desperation. Something primal surged within Murphy as she gasped, "What is happening?" But even as she searched, the world around her spiraled into uncertainty, a storm stirring, relentless and hungry. As the light steadied, a new figure emerged from the chaos, cloaked in mystery. And the crowd caught its breath once more. Would they embrace the unfolding truth, or was the facade too tempting to let go? What lay ahead was a confrontation with their deepest fears, and a profound revelation that would change everything. Who would choose to stand against the tide? And at what cost? The lights flickered back on, revealing the new figure, a woman dressed in dark clothing, her hair framing her face like a halo of shadows. Her presence sent ripples through the crowd, eyes widened, mouths fell open in hesitant awe. Was she an ally or another puppet of the man in the suit? "Listen," she implored, her voice cutting through the tension. "He's right, this is bigger than you think. You're standing on the brink of losing everything you hold dear." The man in the suit slammed his palm against the nearest table, rattling the glasses atop it. "Enough of this nonsense. You're just as deluded as he is. Step back and let the professionals handle this." "Professionals?" She shot back, swiping her hand to dismiss him. "This facade. This life. It's all a lie. You're letting them pull your strings. You think you're thriving, but you're in chains you don't even see." Murphy's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a wild animal. Could this woman be the catalyst they needed? The crowd shifted nervously, eyes darting between the adversaries as the stakes shot higher with each breath. The intruder, still pinned on the ground, seized the moment. "She's here to help you see the light. Let her speak. We're not just affluent puppets. We have the chance to break free from this sick game." "Break free?" A voice piped up from somewhere in the back. "How do we know you're not just using us?" A nervous murmur snaked through the crowd, doubt clawed at their hearts. The woman stepped closer, her gaze intense. "Can you feel it? This isn't just about money or status. It's about your connection to each other, to the world, to something far greater. You can either clutch your wealth tightly or allow your hearts to open wide. What do you know about our lives? A man challenged, thrusting his chin outward defiantly. You think you can waltz in and tell us how to live? I know you're afraid, she replied, unflinching. Afraid to let go of what you think defines you. Wealth won't rid you of your fears. It'll bury you under the weight of them. You may think you're thriving, but in truth, you're stagnant. Don't let the promise of riches blind you. A hushed silence blanketed the room as her words sunk in. For the first time, uncertainty rippled within the crowd. Was their pursuit of prosperity a prison of their own making? Suddenly, the man in the suit lunged forward, fury bubbling in his eyes. You are poisoning their minds. This is for their own good. You will not take this from them. The atmosphere became electric, charged with fear and defiance. Murphy's skin prickled. She wanted to scream, to unleash the storm brewing inside of her. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. She felt a surge of resolve ignite her spirit. What if we are being lied to? She shouted, voice rising against the cacophony. What if our dreams are shackles instead of wings? The crowd shifted, a collective gasp rippling through them. It was as if the words had conjured a whispering truth that lingered just beneath every gilded surface. The darkness beckoned once more, but this time, it carried with it a promise, a chance to choose their destiny anew. As tension thickened, the woman held her palms up, eyes fierce. Look inside yourselves. Know that you have the power to decide. Will you cling to the illusion, or will you embrace the challenge? With every heartbeat, the room oscillated between choice and consequence, freedom and entrapment. Then, it happened. A flash of lightning illuminated the room, a piercing jolt that sent everyone reeling back in shock, ushering in an unfamiliar dread. Confusion settled heavily amongst them, and as they emerged from the disorientation, one final truth loomed over them, complicating their choices: the system doesn't fear the wealthy, it fears the empowered. Murphy's breath hitched. What did that mean? Who had the power to challenge the very fabric of their existence? The lights buzzed ominously once more, drowning them in shadows as muffled whispers filled the air. What is happening? Murphy thought, as a shadow passed nearby. A distinct sense of foreboding clawed at her heart. She could feel it. A reckoning was approaching, one that harbored secrets dark and intertwined. Would they stand together or inevitably fracture under pressure? With tension rising to an unbearable height, the stage was set for a revelation none would forget. The question loomed: who within this gathering would rise to unmask the truth, and what would be the ultimate cost of uncovering it? A sudden crash echoed through the venue, sending shockwaves of panic through the crowd. Glasses shattered, splattering shards across the floor like the aftermath of an explosion. Murphy felt her heart race. She clutched her chest, staring wide-eyed as a dark figure emerged from the spiraling chaos. It was the woman, rising from the ground as if reborn from the ruins around her. This is the beginning, she yelled, her voice commanding even as she staggered slightly from the fall. You can feel it, can't you? The lies are crumbling. What will you choose? Murphy could barely think as the room erupted in commotion. Some people rushed to help each other, while others backed away in sheer terror, desperate to flee. Tension thickened in the air, a palpable electric charge that prickled at Murphy's skin and silenced her thoughts. She could almost hear the whisper of her own fears echoing in her mind. Stay together. The woman shouted over the din, her hands raised as if to pull everyone into her orbit. This is a chance to grasp your power. The darkness serves only to divide you. Not everyone was convinced. The man in the suit, enraged, pushed through the panicking crowd toward her, his face twisted with a mix of fury and desperation. You're only muddying the water. Do you think they'll follow you? Look around. They're afraid. His words cracked through Murphy's disorientation, forcing her to focus. Afraid, of what? The truth? Of losing the facade they'd all been clinging to. Watching the chaos unfold, she saw familiar faces, friends, acquaintances who had worn their wealth like armor. But now, it appeared to her as if they were stumbling through a fog. She could no longer ignore the realization that for most, their riches were a retreat not a refuge. A choice between comfort and clarity. The woman cried out, her voice a beacon in the storm of confusion. You can hold on to your gold chains, or you can finally look in the mirror and see your worth. Her plea hung delicately in the air, but as the moment stretched, uncertainty brewed beneath its surface. Murphy felt a knot tighten in her stomach as her mind raced. What did it mean to see their worth? Would it shatter everything they believed about themselves? And then, just as the crowd seemed poised to erupt either in defiance or embrace, another flash of lightning illuminated the room, brighter this time a jagged crack through the ceiling. Loud gasps filled the space as an inexplicable sense of dread washed over them. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, thickening around them as the buzzing lights flickered again, pulsing like a heartbeat. It felt as though the very walls were closing in, bearing witness to a truth long buried. What's really out there? Murphy thought, inching closer to the woman who stood defiant before the onslaught of fear and doubt. What happens if we don't face it? As if reading her thoughts, the woman locked eyes with her. You know the moment of change is now. Can you feel the cocoon of your past shattering? A sharp intake of breath swept through the crowd, mingling with the static in the air. If they chose to believe, a revolution could ignite. Yet the price of that belief was unknown. Will you rise or remain trapped in your gilded cage? The noise faded into an almost eerie silence, the gravity of her question sank into every heart. The people stood frozen, torn between their chains and a burning desire to break free. Murphy sucked in a breath, wrapping her arms around her in a shaky hug. Was she ready to find out what lay beneath the layers of pretense? And just as everyone seemed poised for action, the lights died completely, blackness engulfing the room. Whose side are you on? A chilling voice broke through the darkness, sending a ripple of apprehension down her spine. In that moment of inky stillness, the stakes had never been higher. Would they band together against the unknown, or would they scatter, running from the sound of truth? As the shadows deepened, one question burned in Murphy's mind: who would emerge from the darkness and at what cost? Murphy's breath hitched in the darkness, her heart pounding in her chest as the chilling voice echoed again, muffled but cutting sharply through the fear swirling in the room. Choose wisely, it commanded, and in that moment, her instinct screamed for action, yet she stood rooted. The tension was thick, and every figure around her became a silhouette, shadows merging and shifting like phantoms lost in a void. She realized they were all subjects in this unfolding drama, each with their own fears and dreams colliding in the dark. She could hear whispered among familiar voices, gathering opinions and doubts, a collective murmur that heightened the eerie sense of unease. Panic surged, and in the flickering memory of the chaotic moment before, a primal fight or flight kicked in. She could sense the others, some pressing closer together, a pocket of unity emerging, while others were edging back, eyes darting as if searching for exits that were now barely remembered. What would happen next? Are we truly afraid of her? Murphy thought. The woman whose fiery words had barely touched them seemed to hold back the storm, yet an unexplainable dread clung to the air thicker than fog. That darkness wasn't just from the lights, no, it resonated from a deeper fear, a refusal to confront their realities. Stop wasting time. The voice continued, deepening in its ominous tone. What are you waiting for? Embrace what you are. Suddenly, the air pulsed. The lights flickered back to life, revealing chaos painted in stark flashes: a woman struggling to stand, a man shoving others away in anger, tears streaming down a frightened face across the room. The energy was palpable, a slurry of emotions begging for release, but who would answer the call? Murphy's eyes sought the figure of the woman who had ignited the call for change. There she stood, unwavering against the backlash, unyielding. Murphy felt an undeniable pull toward her. Was it courage or madness? The voice boomed again, commanding. Unleash the truth. What's holding you back? Was it the gilded cage of your past? Or the puppet strings of comfort and fear? With those words ringing in her ears, clarity struck like a lightning bolt. Each captured face carved into her memory bore the weight of denial, suppressed potential lurking beneath their polished exteriors. And the question loomed: was she ready to tear down those facades? In that surreal moment, silence fell again, almost expectantly, like the eye of a storm. "You have unfathomable power," the woman shouted. "But it's meaningless without the courage to shed your fears." Murphy felt the internal battle raging within herself. The chains she had so carefully draped across her existence now felt constrictive, suffocating. "Am I also afraid?" She glanced around, her gaze darting from the panicking crowd, the haughty walls adorned with expensive decorations, the remnants of a facade. Then, before she could respond, a low rumble shook the foundation. The room vibrated, and one by one, the lights blinked out again, plunging them back into pitch blackness. The air smelled of electricity, charged with the raw frenzy that gripped everyone tightly. "Forgive me if I send you spiraling," that voice whispered, now soundless yet infinite, chilling her to the bone. Panic ignited as frantic whispers erupted. The crushing uncertainty seeped back in. How much can we bear? What's outside this safety, this illusion? Murphy took a step toward the phantom presence, determination coursing through her veins. Would she be a player in this dark game, or would she let fear drown her and those she held dear? She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came next would either liberate them all or consume them entirely. And just as the room seemed ready to implode with palpable energy, something more powerful emerged in that obscurity: a decision. As the shadows loomed larger, the question hung there, ripe with fear and promise. What will they choose when the next light flickers back on, and what sacrifices lie hidden in that choice? The air hummed again, thick with tension that felt electric, almost alive. Murphy felt her heart thump in her chest like a drumbeat, a reminder of the human vulnerability lurking beneath her bravado. Darkness pressed against her, and she could hardly see the faces close to her, though she felt their frantic breaths, their shivers. They were all caught in the grip of terror, the fear a living thing wrapping around them like heavy chains. "Someone needs to say something," a voice broke through the silence, trembling yet filled with an odd sort of resolve. It belonged to a man near the front, his voice echoing against the walls with an urgency that resonated in the rising panic. "We can't just stand here." A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd, amplifying the anxiety that crackled in the air. Each heartbeat felt louder, drowning out thoughts, stripping away the last shreds of calm. Murphy could sense a shift, a collective willingness to confront the oppressive shroud of uncertainty. Yet, amid the growing unrest, a chilling realization clawed at her insides: what if revealing their truths ignited something darker? "Speak then. Speak your truth." The voice surged from the shadows, deeper and more compelling, the authority almost hypnotic. "You'll either thrive or you'll perish in your sameness. What will it be?" Murphy's hands quivered as she struggled against the tone of the voice, a haunting command echoing in her mind. Would she dare to expose herself? But a deeper, braver whisper within urged her to respond, to shatter the glass between performance and authenticity. With desperation mounting, she gathered her breath. "Please, we can't keep hiding," she heard herself say, her voice rising in defiance, trembling but clear. "Our fears, they won't protect us. They'll just keep us captive." A flicker of recognition danced across the faces around her. Suddenly, the light flickered back to life, illuminating the room once more. And in that brief moment, Murphy saw the truth carved into the expressions of her companions, a mix of agony and hope, rage and longing. In the glare, she noticed the man with clenched fists, a woman staring wide-eyed, and a girl whose earlier tears glistened like diamonds in the light. In that charged moment, everything shifted. Someone stepped forward, pushing past the fear that clung to them like a fog. It was the woman who had been quiet until now, her presence surprisingly fierce. "I've spent so long pretending to be someone else," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper but filled with unexpected strength. "I can't let fear control me anymore." Murphy felt the energy in the room morph. It was no longer just panic, it was raw, pulsing bravery. With every shared truth, the shadows in the corners of their reality seemed to recede. Each revelation layered their newfound freedom, but what else lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike? Then, like a sudden gust of wind, the lights flickered again, drawing their gaze like moths. A low growl vibrated through the ground, and the oppressive atmosphere returned, heavy as a storm cloud, menacing and unavoidable. "Foolish children," that voice sneered, slithering around them like smoke. "Do you think you can claw your way to power without sacrifice? Wake up. You've merely scratched the surface of your path." Murphy's throat tightened as she instinctively took a step back. The dawning fear clutched at her chest once more, her very essence rattled by the ominous reminder that change demanded a price. What realities would they unearth? Were they ready to pay? As her resolve wavered, a piercing shriek cut through the chaos emanating from the dark, echoing against the walls. "What are you willing to risk?" The voice challenged, swirling through the space like an inescapable force, and with a tremor of dread, Murphy felt the reflection of her own soul. The battle had just begun. What price would she pay for freedom? Would it be worth it, or would it plunge them deeper into the abyss? The doubts crashed over her like waves, crashing back against her. Thoughts, threatening to pull her under. But one truth remained whispered in the echo of their gathering fears: the light had flickered, but it had brought a choice. What would be unleashed next, hidden behind those shadows, even darker than fear? The shadows thickened again, wrapping around them like a cloak, stifling any thoughts that dared to break free. Murphy's breath caught in her throat, choking on the darkness that pressed in. The low growl morphed into a guttural laughter, as though the very walls were taunting her. She fought against the rising tide of panic, her mind desperately clamoring for clarity. "Fear is the enemy." The man with clenched fists from earlier took a step forward, his voice booming amidst the engulfing void. "If we don't confront it, we'll never escape." Murphy looked around. Eyes that had once flickered with hope now shifted uneasily. Doubt settled heavily, dark and sticky. But what if confronting it only makes things worse? Someone whispered from the back, punctuating the fragile atmosphere. The question danced through the crowd, latching onto every anxious heart. "Listen." Murphy cut in, finding strength in the desperation. "We can't let this voice control us. We need to understand what we're up against. If we keep hiding, what will we ever find?" Her words hung in the air, an anchor in chaotic waters. Then, beyond the murmur of disbelief, the darkness responded, swirling thicker, almost like smoke seeping through cracks. The menacing tone returned, low and laced with malice. "Confront it? You think you're ready for what lies beneath?" A chill wrapped around her, paralyzing her resolve. The memories of past fears clawed back moments when she chose silence over honesty. The voices laughed in her mind, whispering lies that ached to be heard. Beneath the oppressive weight of dread, something flickered inside her. It ignited with the courage she had summoned moments ago. "I won't let fear bring me down," she shouted, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "Every one of us faces something. Our fears are our pasts. They shape us, but they won't break us." The crowd stirred. She could see heads nodding, hesitant at first but then resolute. It was as if her words had broken the invisible chains binding them to their own doubts. There was an awakening in the room, a collective unshackling of fear. "Your choice is nothing but illusion." The voice spat back, venomous. "What lies ahead is far darker. Are you ready to taste that despair?" In that moment, a primal scream shattered the tension. A figure stumbled out of the shadows, eyes wide, skin pale. It was the girl who had cried. Her voice trembled, cracking like fragile glass. "I witnessed it. I saw the price of freedom. It's unthinkable." Murphy felt a twist in her stomach. "What did you see?" Her heart pounded with urgency. The girl breathed raggedly, fear flooding her features. I saw the truth of ourselves. It could destroy everything we hold dear. You think facing fears gives us power? It could tear us apart." A heavy silence fell, the weight of her words sinking in like lead. Murphy's heart raced as uncertainty washed over the room, mingling with the earlier resolve. The flickering light dimmed again, plunging them back into half-darkness, summoning unease from its depths. What if we lose everything? Someone dared to ask. Murphy stepped closer to the girl. But what if we gain everything? What if this is our moment? A flicker of defiance danced in the girl's eyes. But what if it's the wrong choice? The question hung over them. It wrapped tight around their throats, suffocating thought. The shadows seemed to breathe, whispering of dangers unseen, of the price they might have to pay. And amid the swirling doubt, as fear and bravery locked horns, a piercing scream echoed from deep within the blackness, driving them to the brink. Tell me, Murphy, what will you sacrifice to confront the truth? In that chilling heartbeat of uncertainty, with terror curling around her once more, she realized the challenge was not merely to face fear, but to face the truth of who they all really were. What other masks would fall away in the confrontation that was about to unfold? And what darkness awaited them on the other side? The air crackled with tension and uncertainty. Murphy could feel it wrapping around her, a living thing that clung to her skin like sweat. The shadows swirled, curling around the figures of the crowd. The weight of their collective anxiety pushed against her chest. The question echoed through her mind, louder than the chaotic fears battling for dominance. What were they willing to sacrifice for the truth? The echoes of power and vulnerability danced in harmony, a duet of hope and despair. This is it. She shouted, her voice cutting through the shadows, trembling as it reverberated against the cold metal walls. What have we buried within ourselves? What have we let fear dictate? The uncertain faces surrounding her glimmered in the shifting light, eyes wide and desperate, searching for an anchor. Each person bore their own story, cloaked in pain, ambition, and the ongoing internal struggle. She could feel a movement rising among them, a conscious shift toward the luminous truth that had long remained hidden. Speak, Murphy. The wild-eyed man called out, his voice breaking through the thick fog of doubt. You felt something, haven't you? Yes. She gasped, her breath catching as the memories flooded through her. You all feel it. We stand here because we have a choice. We can either remain chained by our desires or confront our true selves, even if it means facing the darkest parts of our souls. The room erupted in a chorus of murmurings and whisperings. The shadows seemed to dissipate slightly, revealing anxious expressions laid bare, hearts beating like tribal drums resonating with every word spoken. There was a lingering anger sparking among them, igniting a fire once thought snuffed out. Then the voice returned, taunting and sardonic. You truly believe you're ready to unveil your truth? Just remember, with every choice comes a cost. The man in the suit stepped forward, the facade slipping from his charismatic demeanor, revealing anger twisted with fear. You'll regret this. He spat, desperate eyes darting around the room as if searching for escape. You're all deluded. This chaos will destroy you. But the crowd held firm. Murphy could feel courage surging within her, no longer just her own, but a collective strength swelling like a wave, fueled by shared suffering. Do we accept our truest selves? She asked, eyes burning with conviction. Will we embrace the reality underneath our fears? The silence that followed felt electric, heightened by anticipation. Each breath was a moment of pressure building, a choice weighing heavily in the air. Yes. Voices began to rise, first softly, then into a frenzied chorus. Yes. They ventured, their collective desperation spilled forth. We choose truth. We choose freedom. As they raised their hands, there was a crackling of energy. Something monumental was shifting. The dark figure that had loomed in the shadows now shrank back, its voice trembling as it glanced around nervously. The man in the suit staggered back, his power suddenly winding down in the face of their resolve. There's no way back. He screamed, panic dripping from every syllable. You'll lose everything. A woman at the front shot back, emotion igniting her voice. Everything we built is a facade. We can't chain ourselves to illusions. With that, the lights flickered violently, illuminating the human tapestry woven from shared histories, struggles, and wounds face down, but also the promise of something greater. The dynamic shift between denial and acceptance shimmered through the air like electricity. They were no longer afraid. Arkham! The wild-eyed man shouted, pointing at the man in the suit, his anger erupting anew. You think you control us, but we see you now. We see what this has cost us. The man in the suit faltered, fear washing over him. This isn't fair. He shouted, but the tumult of voices drowned him out. We are ready. Murphy yelled, the words piercing through the chaos, a declaration of intent. We're ready to reclaim our lives. The shadows morphed and twisted, receding like a tide instead of crashing down. And in the heart of it all stood Murphy, raw and shining like a beacon. Let go of fear. Let go of doubt. We will no longer be pawns in this game. As the crowd surged forward, a wave of resolve, the very fabric of it seemed to vibrate. The air buzzed with the weight of a million truths waiting to unfold. Each declaration pushed them closer, connected them more profoundly, until they were no longer fragmented souls shrouded in darkness, but a community poised on the brink of liberation. Finally, together they advanced. The man in the suit, finally faced with no escape, could only watch as they pushed towards a luminous door that had appeared at the end of the warehouse. The very symbol of possibility awaited. Do it! The woman cried, eyes brightening. Let us step into the light. With a collective breath, hearts racing and palms entwined, Murphy led the charge. They rushed toward that doorway, leaving behind the shackles of desperation and illusions of grandeur, embracing the dawn of their awakening, of their truths laid bare. As they crossed the threshold into the unknown dawn, a soft light engulfed them, vibrant and radiant, illuminating the air with the smell of fresh beginnings. The last remnants of the darkness fell away like old skin. They were no longer bound. Together, reflection and transformation steadied their pulse. What lies ahead? Someone asked nervously, glancing back at the shadows they were leaving behind. Breathe, Murphy whispered, hope pouring into her words. We are writing the next chapter together. And this time, we hold the pen. And with that, under a canopy of possibility, they chose to step forward into a future unscripted, free from the weights of fear and despair. They chose to embrace their fate together. So this was the moment, and now, dear friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will unravel even more incredible journeys like this one. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let the world know this story mattered. Flood the comments section with your reactions, thoughts, and theories about the ending. It matters more than you think. And while you're at it, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show true support. Let us tell the world our stories deserve to be heard.